verbal riot.
May the 4th, man. That was this weekend. It was a big Star Wars weekend. And how did we start off this weekend?
Well, I called him Mr. President. He said, "You can call me Joe." And I said, "Can I call you Joe B1 Kenobi?"
Yeah.
Pokemon go to the polls. Go to the polls.
It saddens me that Mark Hamill has become, oh God, man. I don't even know what he is at this point, man. He's just a disappointment, dude. Like that's the only word I can think of. Like Mark Hamill has become such a disappointment. Like he is the furthest thing from Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. It's like he's actually making me less critical of The Last Jedi, because I'm like, did he come onto set and start talking to Rian Johnson, and Rian Johnson was like, or like when Rian Johnson met with him before he wrote the script, he was like, "Oh, I'm just going to write Mark Hamill as he is now, like just a sad, bitter, ridiculous old man." And then so he actually put Mark Hamill on the screen instead of Luke Skywalker. That's the way it seems to me, because you're right. He's just an absolute cringe fest of daily embarrassment on Twitter. And then this was just the biggest clown show.
You know what he looked like?
I can't believe this is a real timeline.
He looked like that drunk uncle who, like, when the bride is getting toasted, he grabs the mic and just starts saying some outlandish shit. Like that's what Mark Hamill came off as when he did that press thing this weekend.
When you make that press secretary look like the smartest person at the mic, you have messed up.
You have failed, my friend. You have failed.
It was rough to watch that. And again, Mark Hamill is somebody we all grew up, idolizing. I mean, it was like, Luke Skywalker, the hero of our youth, of our generation. And he's just transformed. I mean, maybe this is always who he's been, but this is one of the big problems in Hollywood, is like everybody in Hollywood seems to want to wear all of this out there on their sleeves. They want to get out there and say everything about their own personal or political opinions and ideologies. And it's like, guys, can you keep it to yourselves? Like Michael Jordan famously once said, conservatives buy tennis shoes too. You're literally alienating half of your audience by constantly coming out and making, statements like this. It's to the point where if Lucasfilm came out and said, "Hey, we're going to bring back Luke Skywalker. We're going to reintroduce Luke Skywalker. We're going to have Mark Hamill play him. We may de-age him or this or that." I think there would be some pushback just based on the stuff that he's saying right now. Like this conversation and all of the stuff that he keeps putting out there on Twitter. I think there would be legitimate pushback from a lot of fans. Maybe not everybody. A lot of people would be excited, but I think a lot of people would just be like, "I'm cool on Luke. I'm cool on Mark
I don't
Hamill."
care. I don't care anymore. They just announced Hot Toys just announced a Luke Skywalker Dark Empire figure, and he's dressed like I believe it was what's his name? He's based off of the covers of Dark Empire, which were painted by Dave Dorman.
Right.
And it's great. He's got like the Vader pants. He's got like a Vader kind of inspired outfit. It's from that comic series. That was like huge at the time. And I've always loved that look of that Dave Dorman cover. And I would be right in on that Hot Toys until we hit this week. They unfortunately they announced it the same week that Mark Hamill came out and really and just did that whole cringe bit at the White House and said that Joe Biden's the best president we've ever had, and just like did all this effusive praise on Twitter. And it's like, oh, you're a crazy person. And it's like, I no longer want a physical representation of Mark Hamill even in my house, even though it's Luke Skywalker and not Mark Hamill. Yeah. It's tainted for me now, because Star Wars is already tainted, and now you even have tainted my memories of the good films.
I think between Mark Hamill and Kathleen Kennedy, my love for Star Wars is gone. I don't even try anymore. I was looking at some of the old things I have in storage, like some of my old figures and my old comics and and I'm like, I could just give those away now. Like I don't need them anymore. Like the love that I had, and it's funny because Adrienne Curry, a lot of you guys know who she is. She tweeted out that, that the last time she cosplayed, because she's a big cosplayer, and she used to do a lot of Star Wars cosplay, and she was just like, it saddens her that she has to give up something she loves. But I feel like, yeah, we all have to give it up, because we're never going to get that Star Wars back. We're not. It's never coming back, guys.
It's
No,
funny that you
not.
mentioned that too, that you mentioned your collection, because this week I'm going to storage to like go through my collection and sell a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to take a bunch of Star Wars stuff and I'm going to sell it. I'm just going to dump it and get rid of it because I don't care anymore. I'm so indifferent to Star Wars and even the films that I grew up with and you know, all the toys that I collected. And you know, for Disney to run me off, I'm a guy who was spending money on, like, when Lucas still had it, and it was like during the Clone Wars was on, and they were doing like the Force Unleashed, and I was buying everything. I have the Darth Maul Pepsi statue that, you know, Pepsi released in stores to advertise the Phantom Menace. I got him the master. I had him repainted so that he looks really good, and I got him the Master Replica's double-bladed lightsaber instead of that little cheap one that he came with. You know, so the display could look good. That giant Millennium Falcon that hung in Toys R Us during the re-releases. I bought that from Toys R Us, and I have that. This is the level of collector that I have. I have storage tub upon storage tub of loose action figures because I would take every one of them out. I would customize them. That's how into Star Wars I was. And now I just don't care. I just don't care. And how the more they ruin it, I'm so indifferent now. The Acolyte looks like a train wreck, and I'm not even mad. I'm like, good, faster Star Wars, burn.
Yeah, it's
for a lot of
pretty
people,
sad.
like Star Wars.
I remember. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Star Wars has always been, in my opinion, the one fandom that I will die upon. Like, that's the last. I'll die on Star Wars Hill. They'll be rolling my corpse off of that because that's the thing that brought me into, you know, even before comics. You know, when I was a 5-year-old kid and I'm sitting in the theaters watching Star Wars for the first time, I was blown away, and I've just loved it ever since. Obviously, with the Disney era, that's taken a big, you know, chunk of that love away, but I don't know how they recover from what they've done without burning it all the way to the ground and finding somebody that understood what Star Wars meant to people to bring it back. I don't know if they can. I just don't know where they're at with it. At this point, I think Star Wars, I've said this before, it's like the Titanic, this beautiful luxury liner that's just going across the ocean, and it hits the iceberg called Kathleen Kennedy. It's now sitting at the bottom of the ocean, and, you know, everybody's diving down, seeing if there's anything left to salvage. And it feels like there's nothing left to salvage from this. Your memories are that, you know, that first part of the voyage where it's going across the ocean, and, you know, you remember the Titanic movie, everybody's dancing, having a good time, eating, everything's great. And then it hits the iceberg. And now I don't know if they can ever, in my opinion, they can't do anything with this franchise.
Okay, but here's what I don't get. Here's, you know, and I talk as someone who's been in the business world for a very long time. When things aren't working, you got to course correct, right? When does this happen at Disney? When does Disney course correct?
Not until Bob Iger's gone, because he will never admit making a mistake. He will never admit that he put the wrong people in charge, that he made the wrong decisions, that it was stupid to let Kathleen Kennedy talk him out of making Galaxy's Edge based on the original movies, and instead making them, you know, that he'll never admit about, you know, you can ask him about the Galactic Star Cruiser and you'll get some BS answer. You know, he'll try to blame it on Chapek probably, even though all this stuff was greenlit under him. All of these decisions are him, but he will never admit it. His ego cannot take it. So until you get rid of him and you get a CEO in there that is willing to say, we are hard resetting Star Wars. We are going back to those original 6 films are all that exist. We're bringing back the expanded universe, and we're going to start over from there. The sequels are Apocrypha. All of the Disney Plus stuff is Apocrypha. We're just going with the core vision that George had and oversaw. Until you get somebody who's willing to do that, Star Wars is, like Gary says, it's just a category on a failing streaming service.
Okay, but in order for that to happen, though, you got to have a CEO who's willing to take the heat from the DEI people, because that's what's going to happen, right? They're going to grill him for firing, you know, black people, gay people, or, you know, whatever the case may be. You're going to have some DEI asshole come in there and threaten whoever the new CEO is, right? Because that's what they do. They threaten these CEOs, you know, telling them that they're going to, you know, blast them for being transphobic or being homophobic or being racist. They'll threaten them like they do with every other company, right? So this CEO would have to have huge brass balls to go in there and do something like that.
I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
Disney, I'll do it. Sign me for a year. I'll clean house and then I'll leave. You can put another CEO in. You'll get another CEO in who will give you like all kinds of positive PR and they'll be all happy that I'm gone. But you know what? I will have cleaned house for you and I will have reset everything for you and you can start over with a clean slate because I don't care. I walk in and I say, what is going to make money? Well, you know what makes money? Satisfying your customers. How do we satisfy our customers? We get rid of all this stuff that they don't like, and we start making things that they do like. And I don't care about anybody's feelings. I don't care about DEI. I don't care about ESG. Anybody can work here. That's fine. But you know what's going to get you in the door? Merit. If you don't have merit, you're not coming in. After that, I don't care who you are. I don't care what you look like. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care about any of that. But you have to have talent, and you have to have vision, and you have to have passion to be here.
And my first question to whoever I hire would be, do you respect the fans?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If the answer is anything but yes, you got to go.
Yep.
Now, I know you're going to talk about it later, so we'll talk about it later, but we just had Helldivers. They absolutely respected the fans. They listened to the fans. They heard the fans. The fans spoke, and the CEO I'm not sure who made the decision, but they took responsibility for their mistakes. And that's what they don't do at Disney. They don't ever even admit to the mistakes. Bob Iger will never admit, you know what, we got it wrong. We got it wrong when it came to the sequel trilogy. We got it wrong with everything we've done. We're going to put a hard stop right now. We're going to retool. We're going to pull back on all Star Wars content. We'll see you guys in about 4 or 5 years after we've developed what it is that we want to do. That's what a responsible company does. They don't just continue to let the company just circle the drain and go down the tubes. They don't do that. They actually care about their audience. They care about their customers. They care about the people that are feeding them and giving them money and the people that built Star Wars into what Star Wars was. Star Wars wasn't a girl brand. Star Wars was a boy brand. Boys loved Star Wars. That's who you should be catering to, your base audience, not this woke nonsense. But again, they think everything that's on Twitter, I guess, is real life. This is really what people care about. And it's like, no, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. The evidence shows it. Nobody cares about the Acolyte. I mean, I know a couple of people do, but for the most part, this thing is DOA.
It's so DOA. I don't know one person excited about this upcoming TV show, man. I mean, it's
nobody.
You know what? Screw it. Let's watch the trailer.
Oh, no.
I'll be right back. I got to hit something. I'll be right back, guys.
He just took us to church, and now he's got to dip out. He's like, whoo.
Right. Let me see. Let me pull this up. Because I've only seen it like the one time, and I feel like I want to watch it with you guys, so.
I haven't seen it yet. I didn't watch this one.
Oh, you haven't even seen it?
I only saw the trailer, so you're getting my
Are we going to get a real reaction? Okay.
Yeah, you're in for it, man. All right, here we go.
Last night, a Jedi was murdered.
You'll mention the Book of Boba?
Justify their galactic dominance in the name of peace. But that peace is a lie.
Jedi are being hunted.
She was my student. I trained her. Let me be the one to bring her in.
I sense this is only a small part of a larger plan. Some sort of shift to tip the scales.
It's time
To face the past. Destiny is not decided for you by an anonymous force. If you want to pull the thread and change everything, then pull it.
What are you?
So there we go.
How about that?
So Aaron, was it everything you thought it would be?
I felt nothing. I was
Right.
kind of bored. I felt absolutely nothing. There was nothing there that stirred me. I mean, there's things that I made mental notes of, like the fact that she throws the knives at the lightsaber and she blocks the knives with the lightsaber. Well, I know that real Star Wars canon isn't paid attention to anymore, but you would block those with the Force. You wouldn't block those with the lightsaber because that's going to send molten metal flying at you. The lightsaber doesn't just, we've already seen, you can cut through a door. It's still like slags metal. It's not,
does it though? Like do lightsabers do any damage anymore? Really?
No, you can run them through people and people are fine. You can stab them in the chest.
Yeah, it's just a flesh wound.
Like 18 times. She's like looking like a pincushion. They got lightsabers all stuck in her. She's still fine because she's stunned in the brain. And
Sabine just had a little cigarette burn, after she got impaled by a lightsaber, right?
And once you impale somebody, like if the lightsaber is not going to kill people, if it has a habit of stabbing through people and not killing them, why would you not stab it through somebody and then just go up?
Right.
I'm pretty sure that'll kill him. Like there's just all these things that Disney has done. Nobody gets their arms cut off anymore. Like all these things that they've done to nerf lightsabers is.
I'm sorry, but my biggest problem right now is like, how come nobody gets a limb lopped off anymore? Why?
Nothing.
I mean, there was always that, like that. I guess I want to say grit, but there was some level of, hey, these things can do some serious damage. You could lose an arm, you could lose a leg, you could lose your head. I mean, we don't see any of that anymore. You get stabbed in the gut, and then 2 hours later, you're just fine. In the back to tank, just resting up. It's like, I mean, come on, man.
Tis but a flesh wound.
Tis a flesh wound. That's all, sire. It's like, why are we doing this to this great franchise? I was watching, and I haven't finished watching it, but I was watching, what is it? The Tales of the Empire. I was just watching a little bit of that.
I haven't even started that yet.
I mean, same thing. Well, not the same thing, but it's like, this is such a drag, man. Watching Star Wars now feels like a chore. It feels like work. It doesn't feel like fun. Yeah,
man. but I heard they have a non-binary character in there now. So
well, then now I'll watch.
So there you go. Now it's good.
Yay! At the end of the day, these are stories about representation, and it's important.
It's important.
Is it though? Is it?
It's more important than story.
Well, like I said on the previous, Star Wars is literally like if McDonald's didn't know how to make a Big Mac anymore. That's basically what we got with Lucasfilm. Like Lucasfilm literally does not know how to make Star Wars content that people have grown up with and loved for decades. All right. Decades upon decades. It's like going to McDonald's saying, hey, guys, give me a Big Mac. What's that? And they give you this little flat hamburger. It's like, that's not a Big Mac.
Dude,
that's our Big Mac.
I'll tell you how much people love Star Wars, man. When we had that lull between Jedi and the Phantom Menace, right? That was like 20 years, right? Between the two, between
16
those
years. Yeah, 16 years.
Do you know how much Star Wars merch was sold during that time?
Oh, I mean, incredible amounts. I had to be.
Oh, a shitload. I mean, it was insane how much Star Wars merch when there was nothing happening for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
People still loved Star Wars, man. Now we have all this Star Wars content. No one cares. Yeah. No one buys anything, man. You can go to Target right now and you'll find Andor figures, you'll find Kenobi figures. Reva's been there forever because no one's going to buy that shit. It's sad, man. Like, it's sad what Star Wars has become. It's become this property that just no one cares about anymore.
Right. Well, I said this, and I make this point often that even post Revenge of the Sith. So between Revenge of the Sith and The Force Awakens, there was still interest. There was still energy behind the franchise. And when you got to The Force Awakens still holds the domestic record in the box office. That's how big Star Wars still was. That may be a record that never gets eclipsed. The domestic box office record still belongs to The Force Awakens. Almost did $1 billion domestically by itself. Bigger than Endgame, better than Infinity War. That's the power of Star Wars. That's how big.
But that was all because of goodwill. There was a lot of
Right,
goodwill
that's my
going
point.
into The Force Awakens.
That's my point, but that's how much people were so anxious to see. All right, we're going to get Han, Luke, and Leia. It's one more adventure with these characters. They put them all in the trailers, and everybody was excited. And now, look where we are. Nobody cares about this thing. The Acolyte's about to drop. Nobody's watching this thing. Okay, the last thing that came out was before the Bad Batch. What was it? Ahsoka. Nobody cared. The viewership fell off the side of a cliff. And then before that, it was Mando season 3. Viewership fell off after the first episode. Nobody watched it after that. I think unfortunately, they have lost track of, number one, fundamental storytelling. Just telling good stories, period. Forget all of the drama about identity politics. Forget all the nonsense about ideology. Just tell us good stories like we used to get from, the original Star Wars, the original trilogy, and then even the prequels. Although the prequels, shaky, not the greatest storytelling. But one of the things that they just didn't, I don't know, again, in my opinion, they just don't understand how to get it done. They don't understand what the franchise is, what people like about the franchise. And so they're just throwing content out on Disney Plus, and it's just wrecking the brand. It's to the point now that I don't think anybody, when this Mandalorian and Grogu movie comes out, I think in 2 years, I don't think anybody's showing up for that either.
No, Grogu is he's done, man. He's done as a merchandising opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
He's the Mandalorian is like hanging on the shelf. I was out toy shopping today, and there's Mando like just hanging on the shelf. There's the new Star Wars figures from the Ahsoka show, just hanging on the shelf collecting dust. Nobody cares anymore, and it's not the brand of brands. They killed the golden goose. All you have to do, like, it's so sad. Like, remember at one point Disney bought Power Rangers and started to run that into the ground and then sold it back to Saban, and Saban had to go back and fix it. Anything Disney acquires, they smother. It took them a long time with Pixar, but they've done it to Pixar. They did it to Power Rangers until Power Rangers escaped. They've done it to Marvel now, and they've done it to Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, they're
not the company they used to be.
I just don't think Lucasfilm, I just don't think it could be fixed anymore. I feel like, maybe the one thing that could maybe save them is if they actually like just stick with gaming. Like, but after seeing the new game that's coming out, even that looks pretty bad. Outlaws, that looks pretty bad. So I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, man, yeah, that looks
I mean,
horrible.
Jedi Survivor was good, and maybe if they focus on things like that, they could just go into gaming instead of trying to do movies, because it's not working. The Star Wars shows on Disney Plus aren't working. The movies aren't working. So what do you do? Like, what do you do?
At the end of the day, Marvel, Star Wars, and even to a lesser extent, the Pixar movies, Disney's princess movies, everything that they make is typically it was family oriented, which meant that in general the stories were about heroes, or at least somebody doing something heroic and overcoming challenges and things like that.
Right.
They don't understand morality anymore. They don't understand the morality of the country. They don't understand the morality of families. They don't understand the morality of their audience. And so they are incapable of telling heroic tales that connect with the audience. Like so many of the things that they've made, you watch it and you're like, well, the main character that you're presenting is the hero or the heroine. They're the villain. They're awful. Wish that girl, like, oh, she's so adorable, but she's terrible. Like, she has.
I never saw it. How bad is she?
These writers have a child's mind and a child's idea of morality. So it's like her in that movie. She's like, well, why can't everybody just? The king is bad because he won't give everybody their wish. So I'm going to take over.
But it's also because they're not hiring writers anymore. They're not hiring they're hiring activists, man. They're not hiring writers. A real writer. There was a time when at least in Hollywood, and look, don't get me wrong, Hollywood has always been about the money. It's always been about, it's a business like any other, man. But at least they actually cared about story. They don't care about that anymore. It was like a time where they cared about, like, the story mattered and the money mattered, right? Now the messaging matters and the money matters. But here's the thing.
That's who they have working in Hollywood. Those are the people, like you said, they hired activists. And so what is an activist? An activist is a person with an agenda that they're trying to push. The agenda isn't entertainment. The agenda is coming.
It's programming.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You get these guys out of these, these liberal colleges and universities all over the country, and then they flock to Hollywood because that's where their people are. And these cats, they never come outside of that bubble. They never step outside of their Hollywood bubble. They only talk to themselves, and that's who they're making the content for. They're making movies and television shows for themselves. They're
Well,
not
not
making
not
it
only
for
that, but they look
America.
down on anyone who's not in that bubble,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and that's the big problem. Like, okay, how are you you're basically looking down on your audience, your customers. Your customers should be the priority of your job. Yeah, it's like, hey, I want to please my customers. I want to make sure that my customers get what it is that they came to the movies for, or why they're tuning in. I want to make sure that they get what they're looking for. And, I use this other analogy. If you go to a grocery store and you say, okay, I'm here to buy groceries. Let's see, I need some eggs, I need milk, I need bread, I need this, this, and this. And then you walk into a grocery store and all you see is auto parts. It's like, wait, time out. Grocery manager, come here. Where's the groceries? And, oh, well, we changed to an auto parts store. Okay, well, now I got to leave and go find groceries. So now you have taken away from what it is your customers came to you for in the first place. Your customers came to you, Hollywood, for entertainment. They didn't come for the message. If you want to get a message, you got TED Talks, you got your church, you can go to church, you get a sermon, you can go to all these other places for messages and agendas. But when you come to Hollywood, I want to be entertained. Yeah, I want to have, and there's definitely the ability to tell, quality, messages and stories, but you got to layer it in the subtext. You can't put it so overtly over the top that people are like, look, I don't want to be lectured. I just want to be entertained. And so now that's why films like Godzilla, Kong, The New Empire are doing so great, because it's just turn your brain off and just go watch dinosaurs and apes fighting each other. It's the silliest story in the whole world. But you know what, man? There's no agenda here going on here. I can trust that this is all I'm going to get. All right, let's get with that. So yeah,
See, I thought you were going to say that I thought you were going to say you go into the grocery store and you're like, I just want some eggs and I want to get some fruits and vegetables. And they're like, well, maybe hold hands with this guy. Just walk around, see how it feels for a little while. Just, hold hands with this guy. Come on, maybe kiss him. I don't know. Like, come on, it's just, and you're like, but I came here for eggs.
Right. That works.
Yeah,
too.
it's and it's funny because it's not regulated. It's not just obviously in the film industry, man. It's weird to me, like I said, how a business who operates on money can look at their fan, like have a customer base for years and decide we don't want you anymore. We're going to try to wrangle new ones while at the same time pushing their real fan base out, right? Because I mean, if you look at things like even look what happened with Bud Light last year, right? Anheuser-Busch with the whole Dylan Mulvaney thing, right? It's like, do you know who drinks your beer? Every person you're pissing off is the ones that drink your beer.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make sense? How does that make any sense?
They hired a woman to come in and say, like, well, I don't like those customers. I don't like those customers you have. I'm gonna get you all the trans customers, because that's such a huge demographic.
And that woman, it's a type of woman they hire at every company now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's always that woman.
And how many times does it have to fail, Dante? How many examples do they need? They've destroyed comic books with this. They've destroyed movies with this. They're destroying video games with this. How many more entertainment? Like, what's left?
Oh,
I think we're getting to the point where they got to start making some changes now. I think we've crossed that road. I think at this point they got to fix it, or
tabletop gaming, because they've ruined that.
No, what we're going to see is the rise of the indies, man. The indies are going to rise up because all these big studios and all these big companies are going to start failing. They're going to lose too much money, and I'm sorry, but BlackRock can't cover all of them. So,
that's
so
why
they're going to lose a lot of money.
And entertainment options that exist right
indie
now.
Companies are going to rise up. Indie gaming companies, indie film studios, indie comics. Look at Rippa and what he's doing. We're going to see the rise of the indies.
Yeah, but think about it. With all of the competition right now for your entertainment, I mean, it's only 24 hours in a day. There's only so much that I can watch, read, play a video game, consume. There's only so much content that I can get. So, all right. The good ones are going to rise to the top. And if you're smart and if you're in the indie space, You don't want to be a part of Hollywood. You want to get out there and be able to flex and do whatever it is you want to do.
Right.
The barrier of entry has never been more open than it is right now, where you can, hey, you know what? The technology makes it possible just for us to sit here, like something like this. We couldn't have done this 20 years ago. You know, three of us just chopping it up over a platform and reach a wide audience. There's no way we could have done this. So the technology has made it available for Hollywood to really have to get challenged finally, where, okay, you guys no longer have the stranglehold on, you know, entertainment like maybe you did 20, 30, 40 years ago. Now you got to share this same space with YouTubers, you know, and look, my kids are all in their 20s now, but they all grew up on YouTube. And as much as I tried to get them into movies have just never caught on with their generation. My kids used to go to movies every time. Now I ask them, hey guys, you want to go to a movie? What's playing? No, maybe not next time, Dad. Hey, you guys want to go to a movie? Okay, sure, let's go. But now when they have their own time, they're not little kids anymore. They're all in their 20s and they can do whatever it is that they want to do. They're kind of like, I think I'm just going to hang out at home.
And that's the thing. Young people aren't going to movies anymore.
They've lost that. They've lost this generation, I feel. They've lost this particular generation of
the ones they're trying so hard to win.
Right,
is the ones they lost, right?
The ones they pandered to so hard, you know, the Twitter crowd, everything that you see on Twitter and social media, they have tried and they can't get their eyeballs off social media. And they know, hey, if there's a movie I want to see, I'll catch it on streaming in 2 to 3 months. So I think that was their first big mistake, is by pushing everything to streaming, you know, within a couple of months. I think they should have said, you know, we're still going to go to old model where, you know, 6 months to 8 months or whatever. Like I forgot what it was back in the day when we used to rent movies from Blockbuster.
Theaters to physical media to streaming eventually. Like, you know, there should be a gap there, because I would rather go buy, like, I don't want to watch everything on streaming because they can take it away. They can change it. You know, even if you buy it on digitally, they can take it away at any time. You don't own it. You're just leasing it. You know, all these studios, they've all made these mistakes. You know, it's like the first little bit of notoriety I got was writing the Darkwing Duck comic book. That would never happen now, because now I'm too controversial. But you know what? I don't need to go work for Disney. I don't need to go work for Marvel. I don't need to go work for DC. These used to be dreams of mine. I wouldn't, like, you couldn't get me to go work at current day Marvel and DC. You know, you couldn't get me to, you know, go back and work on a lot of these things, because the companies whose IP I cared about, the companies that, you know, like Walt's company that I wanted to be a part of, the Stan's Marvel that I wanted to be a part of, they don't exist anymore. Corporatism has killed them. It's changed them into something terrible. And so much like, you know, you mentioned Rippaverse and Eric July going out there and making his own stuff. You know, so many of us are doing that. I'm doing that. I'm doing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You are doing that.
Yeah, I'm going to be launching that this year. And this is my own IP, my own property. And I could not be more excited about it, because I'm tired of giving good ideas to people who don't appreciate it and who don't compensate you properly. So now we have these platforms, you know, between Kickstarter, Indiegogo, YouTube, all these ways that we can reach people. We can go out there and we can do our own stuff. We can say, hey, I'm sorry the mainstream isn't giving you what you want. I will do it. Let's do it ourselves.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said.
And it's time for independent creators to you know, put it out there, man, because now more than any time ever, people are willing to buy.
Yep.
Because they're craving for something good, man. I got rid of probably 90% of my streaming services, because at one point I think I was on all of them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think now I'm just down to Amazon Prime, because I use Prime for other things. And I have I got rid of Netflix too, so I'm just down to Amazon Prime now. And you know what? I'm not missing anything. I don't feel like I'm missing one thing by getting rid of all those streaming services, man. Like I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't need Max. You know, I don't need Netflix. I don't need Hulu. I definitely don't need Disney Plus, which I guess that they're the same thing now, apparently. I just don't care anymore.
And there's nothing on them. There's nothing on them worth holding on to them for. You know, they don't have any good content to watch. I mean, Netflix, in my opinion, is probably still, you know, in terms of overall like content availability, you know, there's a lot of stuff, because they just have everything you can possibly, every genre you could possibly want. They have foreign films. I love a lot of foreign films that I find on Netflix. So like, to me, and then they got a lot of anime as well. So they have a lot with Netflix, but these other streaming services, there's really, in my opinion, there's no real reason to hang on to these for a couple of series. You know, I had Apple Plus for a hot second when they had, what was the Godzilla thing? Monarch, yeah. So
Yeah.
I had it and I watched it, and I was like, I don't need to hold on to this after this, you know. And a lot of people are just getting it for like the 1 month, you know. It's like, okay, there was a bunch of stuff that was on Apple. I'll get it for 1 month. I'll watch everything that's on Apple, and then I'll turn it off. You know, so they spend the month of March watching Apple TV, and then they're done, and then they don't have to hold on to it any longer. So I think that they have completely killed the industry. They don't have a good, you know, ecosystem anymore for Hollywood to, you know, take movies, make money off the movies, then send it, like you said, to physical media, make money off the physical media, and then off it goes to streaming, and then people will watch it on streaming. They've destroyed that by sending things to, you know, VOD so quick that it's like I can just bypass the theaters altogether. And now the theaters are basically going to be out of business. I think these theaters are like struggling right now. I've been covering the box office, and I mean, it's down like April was down 75%, almost 75% from last year.
Wow.
You know, yeah, it's like,
wow,
what?
that's a lot, man.
Yeah, it's insane. It's not sustainable. They can't keep doing this. This is not a sustainable market or a sustainable marketplace for Hollywood.
I'm gonna get to some of these comments right now, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see. We got Star Wars Marvel purists. Wow, okay. People have misplaced faith in Dave Filoni, an overrated hack who set off a thought bomb that destroyed countless amounts of EU core. Is that core?
Lore.
I'm sorry, lore. With TCW. Yeah. I look. There was one time where I thought Dave Filoni I thought he would be the saving grace at one point of Disney, and I was horribly wrong.
We all were, because, you know, he came in with Favreau. They gave us a competent season of The Mandalorian. You know, it wasn't great by any means, but
No.
you know, after the sequels, we were happy to take it. We were like, okay, this is just good small scale, you know, storytelling. I can kind of get behind this and see where it goes. And it quickly went off the rails. And now, you know, I know some people who worked with Dave Filoni, so I have a little bit of inside information as to about how he actually is, as opposed to the way that he portrays himself. So, you know, not a fan.
Well,
and,
he fooled us, right? Like he gave us like good stuff with the Clone Wars. I can't take that away from him.
But he did that under George's supervision.
Correct. Same thing with Rebels. I wasn't a huge fan of Rebels at all, but you know, I know a lot of people like Rebels, and it was a fine cartoon. It wasn't, you know, definitely was not at the caliber of Clone Wars, but it was fine. I actually like Sabine a lot better in that animated show than
yeah, absolutely,
than the Ahsoka show.
Well, everybody on that show was better in the animated show than they were in the live action.
That's very true. Because they were all clowns in that Ahsoka show.
But otherwise, all Filoni does is strip mine the far superior expanded universe. He stands on the shoulders of the giants that worked on that and who told good stories in that. He strip mines it, and he just brings in those elements and he makes them far worse. His version of Mandalorian culture is dumber and far less interesting than what Karen Traviss did in the Republic Commando novels and in the books that she wrote. His version of Thrawn is a moron, whereas Timothy Zahn's version of Thrawn is a genius. Like, you read Dave Filoni's idea. Dave Filoni's not smart enough to write a genius character. His idea of a genius character is every time the character does something that doesn't make any sense, just pretend like he's playing 4D chess and just have him go, well, I meant for that to happen. You know, I was like, that's his idea of a smart character. It's like, just hide it in the details. It's like Star Trek science, but not as good. You know, where it's like, how do we get our characters out of this predicament? Just have them say some science stuff like, we'll reconfigure the deflector array. It'll emit a tachyon pulse, and that'll free us from the thingamabob. You know, like, you just do that, but like a much dumber version of that. You know, because you can't hide stupidity in bad writing.
You can't write. That's an old adage in writing. You cannot write characters smarter than yourself. He can't write a character that's smarter than him. And Thrawn is clearly a character smarter than Filoni. So of course he can't write him. Of course, you know, he's only can Thrawn in, oh my God, Ahsoka's Thrawn. I was digging my fingers into my couch cushions like, I can't believe the decisions that they made with this character. This is an abomination.
I could easily.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I could, but but I couldn't at the same time. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. So, I mean, yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah, Filoni is a hack, unfortunately, and he's also, you know, dyed in the wolves feminist right there next to Kathleen Kennedy. He seems to believe just as she believes. There's no difference between the two of them. That's why he gets elevated up to, what is he now? The creative chief or something like that.
Oh, Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni is definitely a company man. Like he's going to toe the line of Kathleen Kennedy for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well,
whatever
you know,
Kathleen says.
Of course, he's going to toe the line at the company because he toes the line at home. You know, we've all seen his witchcraft wife that he's married to. You know, that and it's like no wonder there's witches on Ahsoka now. No wonder he's trying to turn it into Lord of the Rings. Like a
God,
bad,
that was so.
I understand the witches of Dathomir. I do, you know, and I liked them in the Clone Wars. But
they
again,
were better in the Clone Wars, yes.
All filtered
much
through
better.
George. You had to filter everything through George. And while the prequels weren't great because George was sitting there going, didn't want to direct, and I'm sitting here and I'm miserable because I don't like doing this, but everybody told me I should do it and nobody would do it for me. You know, you cannot deny the fact that he could look at things and say, this doesn't work, this does work, this doesn't work, this does work, in at least with other people's work, because he wasn't as close to it. I have a friend who was an artist at Lucasfilm for a while. He was working on a show that never went to, like when Disney took over, they shit canned it. But he was doing designs for that. And he said George would come in, like it was once every week or once every 2 weeks, and sit with each artist for about 5 minutes and look over the stuff that they were designing. And he goes, George can't draw. He goes, but he would just get out a pen and with a couple of quick lines, he could say, you know, add this here and add this here and take this out, get rid of that and give it a fin. You know, he would do like these little doodles just to kind of show you like in general what you wanted. And my friend said he would look at those things and he'd be like, well, damn, that's the right call. I don't know how I didn't see that. Yeah, it looks much better. Once I do this, it'll look great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because that's just
his
kind
talent.
Of
that was his skill. I think that I always seen that as George Lucas's skill. I've never, like, even with his storytelling, like his scripts, you have George Lucas write the script. No, sir. You have him, here's the story, and you give that to like Lawrence Kasdan. Okay, now we can get something good coming out of the other side of this, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, he wrote Indiana Jones. He wrote all the story wise, not the screenplays, but he wrote the overall story. And I thought that was his strength. He's a good storyteller and he's good at, you know, like you just said, like kind of shaping things, you know, his ideas, whatever's living in his head. He just can't put it down on paper and he can't like draw it and create it. He needs people to do that for him. But, you know, on the other side of it, it looks great. So I thought that, okay, that's his strength. They should have just like double down on that. Hey, George, we're not going to let you write or direct anything, but just give us the right ideas. Let's get you with good filmmakers and screenwriters and let's put this thing together. That's the problem I had with the sequels is that the prequels, I should say, that the prequels just didn't come off as, you know, as well as they could have came off just because of, you know, George Lucas had his hands on too many things at the same time.
I've always wanted to rewrite the prequels in comic book form, keep them as close to George Lucas's version as possible, and just tweak the things that I think need to be tweaked to show that there are good ideas there. There is a good story there. It's just the direction is bad. The dialogue is really bad. You know, he can't write dialogue. You know, even Carrie Fisher said back on the original movie, they were like, nobody can deliver dialogue like this. You know, you think about Anakin, you know, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. And you're like, oh, come on.
Right.
You know, no. Or,
really quickly, Donna Hergenrether.
What's up, Donna?
That's a name, boy. Hergenrether. Jesus.
Hergenrether.
Okay. I love Mando first 2 seasons. Yeah. The first 2 seasons were fine. And then they went off the rails.
I thought
the first season was good. I thought the second season was hit and miss. Most of the middle of that was bad. I think until you get to the very end, then things started to get more interesting. But yeah, I liked the first couple of seasons overall. I thought it was fine. I didn't think Star Wars was in any, you know, dire Well, I did think it was in bad shape, but I thought they maybe had been turning the corner. It's like, okay, they figured some things out. Jon Favreau kind of has his pulse on what people are looking for, especially with that last episode when they brought back Luke. And, you know, okay, it seemed like and then they came out with Book of Boba Fett. And I'm like, all right, never mind.
Yeah.
I once was Mikey in the chat is reminding me of something. He said the Witches of Dathomir were originally from the expanded universe. That's right. They were Courtship of Princess Leia, right? When they go to Dathomir and they're riding the Rancors and stuff like that. So, okay, so even that strip mined from the expanded universe.
Yep.
Yeah,
Filoni
I mean, it still proves what you said to be true.
Mm-hmm.
No, Filoni is a hack. I mean, by all means, he's a hack.
But you know what? I think he's fine in animation. Under
the right supervision.
Under the right supervision, I think, okay.
Yeah.
let him play around. I don't want him touching live action because to me, that's where Star Wars lives and breathes. If you want to go deep into the weeds, and I'll definitely go deep into the weeds, but Star Wars is going to be, if it's ever going to be fixed or saved, it's going to be on the big screen. And so that's what makes me nervous about Dave Filoni having anything to do with the big screen adaptation of anything or any kind of story on the big screen. He is not a storyteller of that caliber. He needs
We'll be
to
lucky
stick
if
with
any of
the
that.
animation.
They'll be lucky to even get any of that in the theaters, honestly.
You don't think so? Mando and Grogu, you don't think it's coming out?
Right now, I'm like 60-40. I think that everything is falling apart.
And I'll tell you why though, because I think the heat is just off of it now, man. People are done. Like Grogu, no one cares anymore. The best thing they could have did was keep Grogu out of season 3, and what did they do? Brought him back in Book of Boba Fett. Right?
Yeah, and then Luke doesn't even bring him. Luke just sticks him in an X-wing and sends him to Tatooine.
Doesn't even give a
guarantee. No guarantee that kid is gonna he's gonna be able to hook him and find the Mandalorian.
Just good luck, kid.
So unbelievably stupid. Everything about Disney Star Wars is so unbelievably stupid and poorly written and poorly conceived, and it's just trash. Like I could go through like just moment by moment and tell you why none of the things that they're doing work. Why Ahsoka doesn't work. Why Book of Boba Fett definitely didn't work. Knows what they're doing.
John Snowden said, "Did they bury Mando season 3?" No, I mean it's still there, but it's just I think I don't know if there will be a season 4. I don't know.
Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt it. Yeah. I mean, at this point,
what are they gonna do? They're gonna make it about Bo-Katan? Who cares?
Yeah,
that's
what Mando season 3 was. It was
that's basically season 3 right there.
Yeah. So I mean, at this point, I think the only thing they can do is fire everybody. Fire the entire staff at Lucasfilm, all the way from Kathleen Kennedy all the way down, and one by one, let everybody reapply for their jobs and see who you're going to keep. Some people you maybe, all right, you're good. You can go ahead and stay along. But some people, I mean, they'll probably only keep maybe 5% of whoever's over there at Lucasfilm and then start bringing in people that actually care about this franchise, care about Star Wars, want to see Star Wars back on top. And I don't think it'll happen. That's the only thing that will save the franchise at this point. And I just don't think that Bob Iger or anybody at Disney has the guts to do it.